Even though you don't participate in my life, even though you don't hit the door of my house, even though it's not with me in my daily life. This fraternity is possible when we identify that we want the good of the other, that I just want good from the other. Brands of what was dreams that we will have as every day was born cloud, every dawn, or brands of what was dreams that we will have. This is when you look at everything that is marked in you by events and you allow the grace of God to act on that injured territory, about that terrified territory. The year was hard for all of us. I had my difficulties. You had yours. I have my wounds. You have yours. And now only we don't want to turn this year allowing these wounds to continue to determine us. We just want them to teach us that they new positions. This is conversion, my people. That's when we go to God to accomplish in us what we don't know how to do, or we don't have the courage. Conversion is that you give God the right to accomplish what you can't do, nor have the courage to accomplish alone. So many things in my way of being I can't modify alone. I can make my daily effort. But I need this action on God. Conversion is healing. It is modification, of course. It is reorienting the course, just as the day is born and gives me the opportunity to see its entire cycle again. Tomorrow we will have one morning, we will have an afternoon, we will have a night. This cycle I know by color. Wherever I go, who I will find. What will I write? What will I say? And all this can be at the service of our head. It is you looking at the cycle of this life that never ends. We will always have nights. We will always have mornings, dawn, afternoons, opportunities, hours at our disposal. And now, what to do with the time I have? What to do with the day I have? Do with the new year that is before my eyes, which in my heart I want this year to be more noble, which in my heart I want this year to be higher. I look at the marks that stayed, I for these dreams that I have, past and future concilio in a wise way to make this conciliation. We die too much when we idealize and don't dream. When I wake up knowing, just as the day will be a surprise, no matter how much I have a programmed, calculated routine. Who said that God cannot surprise? Who says something of a little girl can happen, provoke me a joy? I don't know. Who says this can't happen? So looking at the life we share, this year we have, it's as if we gave God the right. Look, sir, I want to be surprised for a new time. I want to allow my destruction, that everything that has ruined in me this year, be of profound teaching, that fills me with wisdom, that grants me the grace to identify everything that can be even more beautiful in me. Because this is our desire. Return more and more our way of being beautiful, beautiful, fair, true. The reality is very attractive when it condenses these three realities. She is beautiful. She is fair. She is true. When we are willing to live Christianity, we do not want to, but to allow the beauty of God to be reflected in us. That are reflected in our attitudes. How does a Christian recognize the other? In the way they welcome themselves. I can say, handsome, that I live the gospel, that I am minister of this, minister of that. I am a priest. I am a prophet. But if I treat a person who approaches, I give her a counteract. I give her, generate in it, a disbelief of my Christianity. And the worst, I get unbelieving of myself. Which is the great trap of the devil in us, is when he makes us get stuck in these petty shops that disagree what we know of our Christianity. Because it is not the judgment of the other who drops me. What I do when I lie my head on my pillow. And I know I do not act Christian. It is like this, my people. Increasingly allowing this light to reach our conscience. Radically transform our way, as we look at us. The way we look at each other. This light that floods our room, removing everything that is dim, which makes us stumble in the middle of the dark. When the room is too dark, it is a danger to walk in it. We stumble. we can get hurt. A mind that is not illuminated by God, it gets hurt all the time. Why? Because it lacks this light that guides you, which allows you to walk safely, and God enlightens our conscience more and more. This is the life project we need to have for 2015. That our conscience is increasingly enlightened so that God gives us conditions to recognize where we make mistakes, where we are petty, where we are not acting in a beautiful, fair, true way. Then we are entering the year as every Christian needs to enter, with the responsibility that puts us hours of life that we want to reap. So be honest. Look at the seeds you have sown in your life. Look at the seeds you have sown in the other's life and realize if these seeds will generate things good or will generate bad things. Because this miracle God doesn't do. See? If I sow bad things, it is very likely it is not certain that these seeds will bring me very, very, very bad to be savored. Now, if I get closer through an illuminated consciousness, new proposals, the seed of resentment, the seed of the hurt, the seed of grudge, brands of what was dreams that we will have as every day I was born is Jesus who said that. And I said that very compromisingly, right? Look, everything you do to one of these minors, everything you do to one of these little ones, is me that you will be doing. Everything you do good in this world, all the love you have to these people who need to be loved. Be aware that you will be loving me too. It is this direct identification. The parable of the Samaritan beautifully shows us this interference from God in history through human gestures. The Samaritan, that man who welcomes inside the pension, who brings into the pension that man and asks the owner of the pension to take care of the one who was sick. Because the handsome thing is that charity is so much in the Samaritan that leads to the pension, as in the owner of the pension. Because the amount that the Samaritan left there to take care of the sick was for nothing. Then he had the gesture of solidarity to remove the patient from the street and put inside the pension. But the true charity who did it was the owner of the pension. Sometimes we don't think about it, right? Which is an anonymous of history. I discovered this through a teacher who was giving a lecture and said that the amount that speaks. Now I don't remember how many daras, right? The amount that the Samaritan left to be used was nothing close to what that patient needed. So this is interesting that the owner of the pension is the man of mercy. He is the anonymous of history. And it is very beautiful, very interesting, my people. Passion for God. Passion for humanity. Love to God, love of humanity. We cannot escape the social unfolding of the gospel. We have no way of living a only spiritual religion. It is not good. My spirituality needs to be, we need to be mystique men and women. This is inevitable. We need to be men and women of prayer. We need to be sacrament men and women in this dimension all the time. We cannot detach from the mystical motives of our action. But we must not forget that this action is important either. Action without prayer becomes, but prayer without action becomes alienation. And the church teaches us that neither lonely ways is healthy. We need to live this beautiful junction. For a long time in the church we had mistakes. Liberation theology in many, I do not say all over, but in many segments it was terribly made it. In many places she made a mistake because she summed up evangelical action to a social action, forgot the mystical dimension. On the other hand, charismatic renewal, in many places, in many segments, also forgot the social dimension, has only become spirituality. But what about social action? And the love of neighbor? We pray, but go out there and mistreat the person outside. How can we understand that God has happened in our lives if I am not able to treat the smallest of my brothers yet? It is not true. So we need to be careful. Elsewhere, I return to liberation theology. In many places we had a beautiful social action. Politicized men and women in the name of the gospel. but without any love for Jesus. So that's not what the church wants. The church needs this balance. I find it interesting. When we realize that our time takes care of adjusting these things, right? I keep seeing in so many places charismatic renewal discovered this imbalance and created institutions, created wonderful care works. You did a job then. It's interesting. It is interesting to seek to understand that this love of God is all salve of humanity, and that I cannot unbalance. The sky is for the one who balances. This is interesting. This is a matter of maturity. As we live, we will discover our imbalances. I look at the past, for example, and I see how many times my religion was just spirituality. How long have I been insensitive to social issues? Often. Today I feel, thank God. I feel my heart much more moved to seek this balance. One must be a man of prayer, but one must also be a man of action. Then we are doing the partnerships we can, right? We go? We know that there is a wonderful social work there, which is doing the social work, but is also looking for mystical. Then we go there and establish partnership. This is the volunteer work we all need to have. People. It is amazing how much volunteer work occupies our minds to the point of making us forget about the problems we have out. And when we forget the problem we have, it seems that it solves, right? It is God acting in our lives. I particularly think my people, who are missing for us, often occupy our heads with something. There are so many works through our cities, private initiatives that need voluntary actions. Volunteer work is of an impressive beauty, because it does a damn good to those who receive it. But it also does who perform. And you take time from your life, from your day, suddenly 2-3 days a week. I have my friend Judite there in Tabate. She does a beautiful job there at the regional hospital. Makes the visit to the people who have cancer. Make a coffee for these people. Sometimes there are patients there that has no visits. It is the only opportunity that suddenly has to talk a little with a different person who is out there in the context of the hospital. And this volunteer work is a beautiful social unfolding. So, because I love God, I will get those who need him. Fina there in Formiga, who does a beautiful job also there at San Luis Hospital. Also providing a coffee to the sick. Francois also there from Formiga, who is always with the Finn, helping in these initiatives. Anyway, there are many things throughout Brazil. There are many little things that we can do, and that do too good to the hearts of the people who receive. And then you will also forget a little of your problems. What a head that is busy. The devil has no time, right? And many times, what is missing in our lives is to occupy our hearts and our mind as well. To act in our hearts, to change our way of being. You can be sure that a lot will get better in your life as you allow God to be in you. You can see, my people. Usually our sufferings are born from regions of our lives and our hearts where God is absent. Because if God does not fill the space, we will find a way to fill with what is human, with what is fragile. And usually what is human and fragile does not support us for a long time. Now what is human and fragile, but is under God's command, this will last. Why? The blessing and grace of God sustains us at this time. I keep having all the sins of the world, all the limits of the world, you too. But the certainty that we don't lose ourselves to God is that it gives us a guarantee, so we don't stop continuing. And Lent is this special time that the church calls us, opens our eyes to what we are leaving aside. And it is always good for us to become aware of what we are forgetting our Christian life so that we can resume. To resume these commitments to God is to give Him the opportunity to continue acting and working on us. Remembering that what I say to you is for me too. I'm not giving ready-made magic formulas. No, everything we preach, everything we say here, from the lives of people, we are all in this same boat, and we need to put this boat on the high sea, because this is how God wants us, sailing to increasingly deep waters. Say, I'm Roberta. I have written you several times, and I've been very worried about my mother. Because it's been 8 months since she entered a strong depression. I, my sister, actually can't stand it anymore. Because it's been very difficult and suffered for all of us. Priest, I know my mother suffers a lot, but I also come to the conclusion that she doesn't strive to try to change. He is doing therapy and the doctor himself says she needs to react, but she remains in the same. Sometimes I lose patience, scream with her, then regret it. I do not know what else to do. I call it to mass, to go to the beach, movies, several other things, and nothing she wants. Only stay at home sitting, lying down, and each day feels something different. Stomach pain, headache. The other day he called the fighter saying that his eyes seemed to jump, as if there was high blood pressure in the eye. Anyway, it has been very heavy, priest. I know that God does not give us a burden that we cannot carry, but it is quite difficult, and we would like to ask the Lord to give us a help with His word. The process of depression needs to be treated very carefully, my daughter. We have already talked about this here many times. First thing, the depression patient needs to be very respected. Now comes a time when respect also comprises a firm action with that person. First, because we need to seek proper treatment. There are depressions that are fruits. They are the result of a chemical process, a disorganization. It is funny that these days depression grows a lot, but it has always existed in human history. We have this depression when, and today, there is a lot, many cases, even if we come to the conclusion that they are the results of a strange way that we are living, in a way of living that is directly linked to our diet, which is directly linked to our habits. I would say you need to be careful with your mother in this regard, respect, be patient with her. But you also need to put the rules. Anyone who is sick needs to be treated because if it is not, it gets sick the whole house. So, seeking the best resource, the best treatment, trying to modify a little about the context of that person's life. Knowing that the first step is a doctor who can make a good diagnosis, because sometimes it is not the best diagnosis yet. Sometimes a lot of people do not improve depression because it has not yet hit the medication. Unfortunately, my people, I particularly think we can't get a diagnosis only way. We always need to look for a second opinion. It is important that we have this second opinion. And the other depression, which is very common also among us, is born of personal dissatisfaction. The result of the bands that we are living, the things that are happening, the inadequacy we are living. Because sometimes we don't know. The thing happens, and we look at that whole tragedy and think, and now, how am I going to react to it all? The difficulties exist. We are all involved with the difficulties that are proper to life. No one is immune. There is no way you can have a vaccine and talk. Look, when suffering comes, you may have preparation, but you won't be immune to it. It will suffer, will be shaken. Now the depressive process is settling when this sadness is extending too much in time. First, we need to distinguish this. It is not every sadness that is depression. Sadness passes, and depression can be established as an extremely difficult process and bring the person to death often. Because it depresses, it loses its vitality. What is losing vitality? Lose the brightness, guys. The depressed is erased. This is the case of your mother. You have no desire to do anything anymore. Only you have to have the other side too. We are out. We want to help. We propose the treatment. We seek resources. But then we expect that person who is sick react and start to search. At intervals of so many sadness. Some reason that it can be for her really strong. Able to get out of herself and start living with a little more quality. At least at that time. Because at the moment we are creating satisfaction. See, it is in your life. This is a reality. Let's say today I had disappointments all day, but I need to find out in the middle of this a lot of disappointment. A space where I can have a satisfaction, and then make the effort to allow that satisfaction to take a little longer inside me. Because when you allow satisfaction to take, automatically you are preventing the prevalence of disgust. It's not like this. Boy. Unfortunately, we can't tell you that it will be easy, because it is not. Life is hard. She is hard. But all the time she also gives us a reason for us to be satisfied. Only we don't see. If we put the glasses that expand everything that is being a problem in our lives, it is very likely that we will only see the problem. It all depends on what we illuminate. My people. It's not like this. It all depends on what we illuminate. You have a light, you have a focus, and you direct. This is a rule. Where do you put the light? This I say now to everyone who somehow feels the depressed, distressed heart. Careful. Do not allow your sorrows to take too long within you. Light well with your suffering. Learn how to deal with him. Find out that suffering is a bridge you go through. It is not the river where you sink. It cannot be the river of your wreck. It has to be the bridge of his passage. Do you know why, my people? Otherwise, we will neutralize a lot. That's why I get very worried. Depression. This chemistry that is the result of My body has not produced serotonin, the chemistry of welfare. My body did not produce that substance that is responsible for this. Therefore, for that, by my nerve connections of mind-brain. So you have to have a medicine. The doctor will diagnose this and will give us the medicine, and do not dilute. You also have to change your habits. It's not a pill that will change your life. I am very afraid of these people who think the medicine is the solution to everything. The medicine is an instrumental for you to react, and then the solutions begin to happen. Because there is no magic, my people. It does not have. There is no magic. If this magic existed, someone would write a book about it, and we would all be with our solutions. I read the book and I'm good. No. It is the posture in the face of life that makes the difference. And you, Roberta, are absolutely right when you say your mother needs to react. She needs to be very medicated, and when she finds that she already has the medicine right, this is when we, which makes a lot of difference believing in God, is at this time that makes a difference to live in God. Why? Because those who have this dimension of faith within the heart know this, by intuition, that God does not leave us in morques mora on top. The church invites us to live in this strong time of conversion. What is the specific of our Christian life? Our union, our connection to Jesus. The more Jesus lives in us, the greater our condition of being a Christian. This presence of God in history is through us. We know that it is our excesses that often prevent us from turning into true Christians. It is the excesses of life that are part of us. There is an interesting mystique that is for us to live in Lent, which is the mystique of sacrifice, fasting, prayer. When the church proposes to fasting, prayer, everyone knows what a trip with many bags is, isn't it? How we get tired of loading so much baggage. Sometimes in life the same thing happens. We are getting heavy as we live. We will be excess, and from time to time, the sacrifice, fasting, prayer signals us to what we need to leave. The sacrifice for himself has no meaning. He is always in view of a greater good. Today's restriction teaches me a discipline that is necessary for the Christian life. Discipline is a word that we stop living many times. We don't want much discipline. Why? because discipline will demand from us. If you are committed to having a regularity, for example, if you commit to sleep a little earlier, you will see that you will have to make sacrifice, because we are too stimulated for us to stay up late. And the discipline of sleeping early, she is too good for the heart. She is too good for her health. You will have a healthier heart. Doctors teach us that many heart problems are directly linked to lack of sleep. Stress, depression are often born in an irregular way of living. You see that in Lent we exercise in the sacrifice, but it should accompany our whole life. And the Church is wise when it proposes to us these rules. This interesting way of cutting the excesses. Lent is time to throw away some of our excesses. Throw away a little of what is weighing us. I remember that we always had the habit when it was over the year, when we were going to change the series, that we took the old books, which were no longer used in school. We always managed to pass it all forward. Someone will need it. And my mother always taught us that. This book you no longer need, so pass to those you need so that the new one can arrive. Because otherwise we have no space in the backpack. There is no space in the luggage for so much thing, isn't it? Many times in our spiritual life, the same thing happens. We no longer receive the news is because we insist on keeping our feet in what is old. Behavior is the same thing. If we need to have a new stance in the face of life, we need to find a way to throw away that old stance, because otherwise the new will not prevail. And the Church teaches us that we have a whole instrumental of Christian life to help us cut these excesses. The Eucharist, the real presence of Jesus, the opportunity we have to configure ourselves to Christ. Upon receiving the Eucharist in me, I make myself what I receive. This is beautiful. Jesus is alive in my heart every time I approach the altar of sacrifice. Confession, when I throw my sins out, when I tell the priest the sins, my weights and I get the acquittal. I am receiving a new birth certificate. It is as if God has given me the opportunity to be born again. All my sins are acquitted, and there I get a new life opportunity. Prayer, either through the Word or through traditional prayers, or through spontaneous prayer, are connections that I can live with the heart of God. I am very motivated to talk about it. We are increasingly leaving God's Word aside. It is not often part of our lives. Our life is running. We no longer have that time to stop, to reflect the gospel of the day. I remember that at my beginning of walking, this was a habit I like to have every morning. Meditate the gospel of the day. It does not mean the meditation of the Mass, that moment of Mass. No, a moment apart. Usually when we go to Mass, we already have to be in the mood of the gospel of the day. Guys, it costs nothing. In the morning, just when we woke up, to take knowledge with the Word that the Church elected to guide all Christians worldwide. By reading the gospel of the day, you are in communion with the whole Church of the world. The same gospel that is being pronounced here, which is being proclaimed here, which is being proclaimed in Europe, Asia. We are in communion. And this Word of God is a reference for my transformation. What is our conversion model? It is Jesus. Jesus is our human reference. This is where we pay attention. We wanted to have a heart similar to His. And the best way to know it is through the Word. All of the preaching of the Church revolves around the Word. We announce Jesus alive and risen. And one of the places where we have this resurrection, this living presence, is the Word. Then you will see that during Lent you can intensify it. Does not mean that it is only in Lent. In Lent, we intensify these opportunities that God has to enter our lives. Don't feel alone in this story. I'm sure many who watch us now live the same conflict as you. Yes, people who need to love themselves offer more to be able to offer others. Cultivation, To love that. It is you offer yourself a better cultivation. It is you to allow themselves to experience beauty through a book, through a good movie, through good conversation. Because sometimes we think, oh, I need to love myself. I think I need to go to the salon, dye my hair, buy clothes. No, it's not that. It can also be no problem. But the exercise of self-love, he goes all over what we offer ourselves, intellectually. And when I speak intellectually, think about the sentimental dimension. Because we don't think about the disconnected intellect of emotions. When I think of my self-love, I think of the good book I am reading, the good influences I am allowing in the picture I contemplate, the good music that I listen to. This is all self-love. Or in the rest I program, or the meeting that I landmark to be with the people I love that do me good. This is self-love. And there you donate yourself. There you live the other dimension. That's why I say, there is no self-love in itself. He always makes me naturally available to the other. It is cyclical. I give myself, I offer myself, and naturally offer the other we get. Come back to me, and so let's go. Recycling the loves, recycling the experiences that mature us. That's it, my people. Maturity is a process of every day, all the time. And may God bless us in this project. Because after all, what Jesus did, all the time he went through, was to mature the hearts that were before him. That with us is the same. I've always believed that bad things are the result of thought, negative feelings that feed soul and body, which we often attract miseries according to our attitudes, since we are responsible for our actions and thoughts. I would like you to be able to clarify me better on this subject, because, to me, it seems pure theater, those scenes I see, where people throw themselves on the floor, shout in the name of God, and perform the healing of evil. I'm sorry, Father, if I look skeptical. But God's manifestation to me is far from it. A big hug, and may God continue to illuminate your way always. You see, the devil has many instruments these days. What is possession? It is you having the whole body possessed, and then you remember those images of the movie The Exorcist, when the girl is with the body possessed by the devil. Okay, that's a horrible manifestation, right? You have a physical manifestation of this devil. Now, my daughter, much more than worrying about this rare physical possession, is to think about the possession that the devil can make of our head. And for that, no one is saved. I am the sexton there from the church. Beware, the sexton can be devilish. I am the priest of the parish. Beware, the priest may be devilish, when it allows the mentalities that cause disharmony to be present within it. When you realize that you are becoming the instrument of discord, unloving, violence, lies, injustice, care, you are being an instrument of the devil in the world. And we realize that too much. Sometimes we live with people who are extremely diabolical. Where they arrive, they can sour the environment they arrive. Don't you know people like that? Where she puts her foot, there comes the bad mood, the fear, the ugly face, the fallen pussy, the spirit of pork, which we talk here from time to time. So we have to be careful, because we can become like that. Unlike that person who has peace, love, people want to be close to her all the time. Know that she is a person who will be unable to do harm. It is very pertinent to your question, which I would like you to be careful to be able to analyze with me now. When you say you don't believe in possession, you talk from what you have seen. These rough examples we sometimes see. Amid ourselves, sometimes in our communities, prayer groups of charismatic renewal, Sometimes we see these manifestations a lot. Sometimes you see in the churches that are on television, when you see the pastor performing exorcism, or even the priest are performing exorcism, or even the priest. When you say you don't believe in these demonstrations, you are not even having so much problem. The problem is to deny the existence of the devil. We cannot deny the existence of the devil, even because there are some spiritual masters who say that one of the world's greatest tricks in the world is precisely to make people not believe it exists. Because when we don't believe it exists, it ends up having a lot of chance in our lives because we don't precarious, don't we? When we relativizes the presence of the other, we give the other the right to act. And if we keep care, the other will be under our observation. So you see, deny the existence of the devil we cannot. It would be absurd on our part. The devil exists. It is grounded in Scripture. Now, if you do not believe what you see in terms of possession, what people often hastily say that it is a kind of possession, you are in your right. I also think there are a lot of exaggerations. Many times what we see are crises of hysterism, people who want to draw attention. And I have already followed this a lot because my story within charismatic renewal gave me the opportunity to witness many facts like that. The best way to get attention is to get sick, is to jump from this time from the floor, and everyone runs, does something. Often people are very needy and do these demonstrations, much more to supply a desire to be seen. The fact is that there are possessions that the church recognizes, which truly happened. They are few, but they are recognized. And what do I think of all this? That we need to be very careful all over since we partner with what is diabolical. When you realize that you are accepting what is diabolical within you, above all, mentality is a dangerous thing. When we often have a relativism with Christian values, with family values, with human values often, the devil acts on this relativism. Oh, it is not important to be faithful. There is no problem that we jump around once. And then, yes, it is problematic to be unfaithful. Yes, it's sad that we betray the people we love. It is not normal that everyone, sometimes we hear, oh, we can no longer hold our young people. Beware, this is relativism. We have religious relativism when people often want God, but they do not want the commitments that are born from this partnership with Him. We want to live a religion, but that does not compromise. That does not change our lives. I want to continue to be a Christian, but I don't want God to come into absolutely anything from my life. This is relativism. That's where the devil acts. And we need to be very careful that we don't slow down to their tricks. I like the definition that the devil is an angry dog. God is tired. He can't get to me, but he can bark and seduce me so that I get to him. I see this all the time, my people. The addiction is like this. I never saw a bottle of whiskey running after someone. No. Now, I see people heading to the whiskey bottles, asking for a dose. I have never seen a cigarette trying to seduce a smoker around the corner. Smoke me, right? No. I am the one who seeks everything that destroys me. And you see, the devil's seduction, she's very big. And when I speak devil, I want you to think not only in that horn that comes in our head, but all that is diabolical in the world. All that breaks the harmony of life. The devilish is what breaks the harmony of life. One word can be diabolical between mother and son. A damn word can be diabolical between husband and wife. Why? Why? Because it breaks harmony. We need to be very careful with the music we listen to. I was paying attention because when we go to a place where everyone listens to music and feels right to put the music at the time they want, you end up having to listen to the neighbor's music. And I confess to you that I was listening to some things there I kept thinking, because she is totally banal in the lyrics she is singing. Doesn't she have more lovers to be able to make a speech like that? Poetry is far away. There is no beauty in the letter. What exists, this is diabolical. Do you know why it's diabolical? Because this song can get on the radio that plays in your house, and your girl, you did everything for her to be a girl of character, a girl who loves herself. At 6 years, she begins to hear it, begins to learn, and then begins to reproduce. This is diabolical. When you realize that what it is not good goes into your home and breaks the harmony you wanted so much for your home. And that's where we need to be very careful. Beware of the internet of our children, because the devil may be going through that instrumental. I always find myself thinking that I never found a person who will really love me. And with that comes the self-esteem below. I think people will never find me beautiful. And I suffer from it, Father. What can I do? My daughter, the reading we make of us, it would be very cruel on my part to expect the other to offer me what is my obligation to offer me. So sometimes, Emmanuel, we have difficulty continuing life. It is because we are expecting the other to bring us, that the other prepares us what we should prepare. So what is the first reality to be healed? Take a distance from your father and mother's marriage, that it didn't work out, and try to understand that a tit is not a rule for you. Because sometimes, when I see the failure of my parents' marriage, I naturally think that mine will also be a failed experience. Because it is the closest example we have of us. So you need to wash this dirty clothes. We need to reorient this vision. Yes, that's right. I will always be easier to interpret the world from what is being offered to me. So I interpret the wedding from the closest wedding I have. If my father and mother didn't work out, I have to think that weddings will all be like theirs. And not. I'll allow this one for other models that work. Without the romantic vision, please. Marriage can only work as we fight daily for it. And they lived happily ever after. There's no such thing, no. And after you can have a vision that corresponds to reality, you work with the possibility that you also experience this in your life to love it. Is possible to be loved. Is also possible. It's the first love we experience, isn't it? The first love I experience is not for the other. It is for me. So much so that this is also part of maturity. When you are able to give up that excess love for you, who is proper to the child, because the child is not able to divide. He has no emotional, affective, cognitive maturity to be able to give himself to someone, so she is immature. And her right to be immature, because she is in phase, but as she grows up, she realizes that she can offer herself to others, that she does not only need to receive self-esteem, is the balance of what you offer herself. Self-esteem is never a lonely love. The love I have for me is always in sharing with each other. But I have to have love for me. Because otherwise I keep donating myself without offering myself. And then, of course, I'm creating a collapse for me. This is why maturity, it leads me to understand that in the exercise of self-love, I learn to love the other. And also in the exercise of love to each other, I end up coming back to the love I need to have for myself. Emmanuel, this cure is not just you who need. Don't think it's just you who suffer from this discouragement. No. Many of us suffer from this discouragement, or many of us experience this failure, not being sufficiently loved by you. Yes, I need to love the being that I am at. Loving me means reconciling my limits, knowing all mine or everything I can of my weaknesses, which I sometimes can't know everything, but the most I can know of these weaknesses, so I can get why them, for may they play in my favor. Yes, that even my fragility, if she is under my domain, she favors me. It's like I said at the beginning of the program, there are restrictions that enable I am made possible when I live the restrictions sincerely, honestly, fairly. So the experience of loving yourself is your first homework. And then, of course, you will throw away this pessimism that can have, yes, a consequence of your parents' unhappiness. We absorbed so much from others, right? All of the time of people who pass me say what is alkaline and what is acidic. All the time is offered to me. Now the problem is when I offer myself acidic feeling, when I offer myself the pessimism that deprives me to grow. So every day there is no rest. It is daily. No romantic vision, please. God does not come to do for us. The other will not do for us. It is me and you. We are the ones who have to do this exercise of choosing the alkaline daily, the feeling that purifies us, that maintains our health, and that is giving us conditions to go forward to overcome obstacles, because this is how it is worth life. It is difficult for all of us. I experience a difficult phase, and I am learning from her. I want to learn from her, because otherwise this phase, she will only hurt me. And it's not fair. We are all in the same boat. See?